Welcome back to The Last Word here on KTN News. Delighted to have your company with us as we focus on the Local Content Bill 2016. So as I said earlier, the Energy Committee today, that's the Senate Energy Committee, held a public forum to receive the views of Kenyans on the Kenyan public on the Local Content Bill. So we now want to sample some of their views before we continue the conversation here in studio.
We do believe that this is a very important bill in terms of facilitating the growth of the extractive sector. And in particular, I think one of the issues that we are particularly keen to see come out of this bill is that it should have a very clear emphasis in terms of collaboration between the county and national governments, because a lot of the resources that are actually the subject matter of this bill are actually in the counties. So there's a very clear need for collaboration between these two levels of government, but also the private sector, because obviously the private sector is the main player in terms of extraction of these natural resources. And then the other issue that we wanted to highlight, just in terms of an overall view, is that this bill should, of course, help to create a predictable investment climate that would then particularly support local enterprises, which stands to benefit out of the implementation of local content provisions.
It is possible that through this bill, we can work together so that we can see how we can customize best practices, more so in oil-rich areas, so that it can be used in furthering research within our country. For example, if you have a look at where oil is being extracted, they're in very remote areas. But as a result of innovation, we can use technology and also technology transfer and research to improve on this.
All right, some of the views there from that public forum earlier in the Senate to get the views of Kenyans on the Local Content Bill 2016 with my guest in studio, Harold Omondi, who we also saw there, a Kenyan seeking to participate in lawmaking process, lecturer of ICT at the JQuat, and Andrew Kamau, who's PS Petroleum in the Ministry of Energy. Thank you for being with us tonight. Let's pick it up on the question of the counties and the country, because we've seen sometimes even conflict within some of the counties when, you know, there's news that this has been discovered, and then conflict begins on who really owns it, so that if somebody even outside the county dares lay a claim ownership to it, it becomes ion yetu. So how is this bill, if at all, seeking to ensure that at the end of the day, it's for all Kenyans?
Well, like I said earlier on, this bill, although it's called the Local Content Bill, the local that is being envisioned in this bill is the national content.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, there's national content and there's local content. And I think part of the problem has been that we don't engage. You know, the county is probably not engaging communities in explaining to them exactly how they are going to benefit. That's the first thing. The second thing is the Local Content Bill does not exist in a vacuum. It exists with the Energy Bill, the Petroleum Bill, the Mining Act, you know. So it's in there with the rights of the investors. Now, I heard a very interesting thing there that was said that you must have a predictable investment climate. You know, the nature of exploration is that you don't know what you're going to find. You're given a piece of ground, you go there, you may find something, you may not find something. While you're exploring, yes, you hire people, but there's always a danger that you don't find anything.
Yeah.
You've invested the money, then what?
So you talk about it being at the national government purview, but we've also seen push and pull between the two, because on the other hand, you need a lot of cooperation with the county government in as far as educating the masses, working with them. So is there clarity in terms of how they work together, or is it something we hope it's goodwill that will be achieved down the line?
No, it's quite clear. I mean, if you look at the Mining Bill, the Mining Act, and the Petroleum Bill, it's very clear what the role of the county government is and the national government, how the revenues are shared. And I think it's very important to understand one thing. Like I told you earlier, the oil companies are contractors belonging to the government. So whether it's county government or national government, everything they spend will come out from your profits.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's somebody building a house, he's using his own money to build it.
Yes.
the longer you have a conflict. So if the community keep, let's say, the rig waiting there for 1 week at $50,000 a day, that's 1 week of $50,000 a day that you're going to minus from your profits later on.
Okay.
I think this is what I was saying earlier on. We really need to have this education process to understand these people are working for us. Yeah.
Okay. Omondi, when you hear the private sector, some come out to say that this is something that may lead them, a law that will get them to disclose some of their revenue sharing agreements, and that is too invasive and as far as business climate is concerned. Do you agree with those sentiments?
Basically, I'll look at it in this perspective. I know, as it were, it is true that the bill also has the provision of engaging communities in what is being referred to as stakeholder analysis, for example, so that we can know the value proposition more so from different stakeholders. And so that this will also promote the ownership, as I've shared. And basically, if you ever look at different business models which can be used, or which the bill is trying to promote, is that it is a model that can facilitate participation within different processes. And as it were, and if you're aware with the different business models, I would say that when it comes to the disclosure of the revenues which has been generated from the entire systems, the bill is would be very specific in terms of how we should maybe try to address some of these business challenges, for example, because they're very unique. Most when you are engaging in the community, each and every case is very unique. And so, as it were, the bill will try to address the uniqueness of those specific communities when it comes to revenue sharing. That is one. The other aspect is that the bill will also try to, as I've talked of different products, for example, when we talk about product innovation, when we are talking about the competition in the market, it is upon the entities to make sure that, one, they're providing quality service, which is equivalent to what the community is buying, so that in case of anything, they can see how to go about it. But the other bit of it is that the government plus the bill should be very clear in terms of the limits from the community and even from the business sector. Yeah.
When I'm talking about this extractive resources, PS, in a sense, looking at some of the other things Kenya has, had her name known internationally for, say, for example, tea and exporting of the same, and then questions arising as to why can't we also enhance this product further to avoid situations where we are also now importing back something we could have worked on and gotten so much more. Do you have such fears in as far as this is concerned from a legal perspective, not only with the local content bill, but also all the other bills touching on this natural resources, to the extent that will it ensure that we're getting the best deal at the end of it all? Is it creating room for us to give out best product to the world?
Okay. Before we go there, I just wanted to just clarify on one of the things about this local content bill.
Right.
There is no provision for disclosure on revenue on this local content bill.
Okay.
So the local content bill is just basically saying you, the extractive company, have to tell us at the time of your licensing, what is your program for local content?
Okay.
How are you going to roll it out? Okay. Where the revenue sharing is in the petroleum bill. You see, the transparency comes there because in the petroleum bill, it envisions that at the point of now we've found oil, you have to go back to Parliament and have it ratified. At that point, everybody knows what the revenue share is going to be. It's public knowledge. It's gone to Parliament. It's gone to the people of Kenya. That's that. On the second question that you asked, what is it again?
On being able to improve quality of what it is we are getting locally.
On that part, I agree with you. On the mining sector, for sure, beneficiation has to be one of the things that we look at under local content. And again, we are looking at how useful can that product be in the country.
Yeah.
The same with oil. But we have to have enough for it to be commercially viable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, if we are going to produce, I don't know if it's titanium that we mine today, or gold in the future, or whatever it will be, yes, for sure. And I think that is where the jobs will come from. This extractive thing is not about money as such. It's about job creation, enterprise development for the people of Kenya. Yeah, we have to have something out of it. It's not mining for the sake of mining, producing oil for the sake of producing oil.
Yeah. Omondi, as a lecturer, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but more focused on what do we do to start changing the psyche, sort of those who would say a paradigm shift that's required with our learning, with what we're offering, but with also what we're getting and the kids students are aspiring to in as far as school is concerned, because a lot of this needs to get hands dirty, but there's not too many people that are willing. As a lecturer, at JKUAT, you have a lot of some of these courses being offered there. Across the board, what should our focus be?
If you have a look at it from IT perspective, we have different courses being offered which are very relevant in terms of what we're discussing about. For example, we have courses like the customization courses, business process modeling. There's one called business process modeling, of which we are taking our students through different processes so that they can be engaged, and in the sense that they know that at what point in time should I be engaged, or which type of skill should I acquire to address the few issues maybe I'm facing. Then we also have another one called business process management, which is different from modeling. How do they customize the IT knowledge in a business framework so that this can be done accordingly?
Yeah.
So basically what I would say is that we need, as a university, we are coming up with very, very tacit and current courses that addresses the local issues we are seeing around. For example, if I discuss about the internet, for example, the one we are sharing, we have what we are referring to as the network essentials. This is a course that can help a young person, for example, say you are in a remote part, you want to come up with your own setup. What do you do so that you can come up with a setup that young people can then be engaged in terms of building their skills? Secondly, we've been going to communities and engaging. For example, if you have a look at youth within our slum areas, for example, we've been coming up with interventions that can promote short courses. For example, if you have a look at the youth within the remote areas, some of them are very talented, but they don't have certificates that can market them in formal systems. So we've come up with a strategy of which, through the support of NETA, we want to allow them to go through a system of which they pass through a workshop. They get first-hand, we test their skills, then we allow NETA to award them with some of the certifications that can help them to be very, very competitive. This will definitely create awareness and attract so many of them who are ignoring this very, very important sector.
Yeah.
And finally, it is also in order for us to take note of the fact that we need to develop more mentors and mentees to help them understand some of the issues, the skills gap, so that we can then move on together. So if you look at this, the local content bill, some of these issues are trying to address most of these core issues among our youth so that they can be self-empowered, they can be independent and self-reliable.
Yeah. P.S., I'd also like to hear your comment on the same, because that's the crux of the matter in as far as ensuring the communities are benefiting. They need to be able to also be empowered. It will just not fall on their hands, seated at home. So do you share concern in as far as what is being offered in the schools and the curriculums and the kind of thinking we have in our students? And tie that up for me with when we're talking about technology being transferred by these multinationals to the host country in terms of doing business. How exactly is that happening, and is it going to happen to the extent that we empower you to the extent you're competition for us, so we have to ensure we empower you to a certain level?
That's a really good question. I think one of the things that we need, like Omondi was saying, we need to market some of these courses within our young people. I'll give you an example. One of the best known vocational courses in Kenya is accounting. BCom students, they're all in the evening rushing off to do accounting. It's a vocational skill. And we were chatting with the people from the government of Alberta in Canada last week, and they were saying engineering students, they usually have one of those vocational training technical courses like welding, auto mechanic, and somehow we have to begin to market them. I don't know how we would do it, in the universities, perhaps saying that auto mechanic is probably a gateway to mechanical engineering.
And it is now called mechatronics.
Mechatronics. There you go. So perhaps to try and and market it that way,
Yeah.
so that we have more of these people. You can fall back on these skills because they're really portable skills. They're required everywhere. That's the first thing.
Right.
The second thing is on the communities. You asked about what should we need to do. The problem is, if you speak to industry players today, whether they're in manufacturing, in exploration, whatever they're in, they tell you the people coming out from school are not industry ready.
Wow.
Yeah, we have to train them. So they come out of school, yes, they may have the papers, but they have no use to me. So I have to then spend more money. And I think that's where the collaboration between industry and academia comes in. What do you want? What do you need? What's the new technology? Yes, perhaps we've been training auto mechanics to do carburetors, and now everyone is in injectors. It's old technology. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
We really need that collaboration between industry and academia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the communities themselves. You see, one thing I like about Kenyans is that we're very enterprising. If we see an opportunity, I'm sure how many community schools came out from independence to now? Plenty. You know, communities put money in. And I think if communities can be advised on what is required, I feel that they will take the extra step and build those schools.
Yeah, and let me also put this to you, because you sit in a vantage position as PS. We're talking about the local content bill. There's all these other bills and laws already in place in as far as the extractive resources are concerned. Should we be excited as a country? Is this something that's going to pan out to be big, or is it a little bit of oil here and here? We're making a hullabaloo about nothing when we're looking at the bigger picture.
You know, Sophia, let me tell you. It is so exciting.
Okay.
You know, because if you look at Kenya, where oil is found is called a sedimentary basin. Kenya has 540,000 square kilometers of sedimentary basins. We've drilled 5,000. 1% of Kenya. We've drilled 1% of Kenya.
Wow.
You know, if you look at it this way, since I think the beginning, since we started in the 40s, we've drilled 40 wells. This year, Oman is going to drill 500 wells. So, look, we're nowhere. We're just beginning.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
If you look at what the Ministry of Mining is doing, they're just about to embark on an airborne study to find out what is in Kenya. We don't know. We know there's some gold in Western Kenya. We hear there's some uranium in Northern Kenya. There's some coal in Kitui.
Okay.
You know, there's titanium at the coast. We are at the beginning. Yeah, we're in our infancy.
Okay.
So this is the time. It's so exciting to be. If I was a young person today, I'd be very excited.
Yeah.
Sure.
You're still young at heart. As we bring this to a close, let me hear your last word, because you've had an opportunity to look at this bill. You sit in, because the young people, they're the people we're hoping to be able to ensure that at the grassroots level, their communities, their families, and at the national level as well can be able to feel and benefit truly from these laws. It's a proposed law. We'll see how it goes. But your closing remarks.
Basically, my closing remark is that I would maybe, as it were in the bill, it is really promoting the ownership aspect of the entire process, which is very, very key to me. I would then maybe encourage young people to look at it keenly, because looking through technology transfer, it is possible that sensitization of our young people can be done maybe through social media, so that they can understand this bill contextually and maybe move on with it. The other aspect is that as we move from analog to digital, we are also saying that technology transfer is very, very key in this regard.
Right.
For example, as we do a lot of exploration, technology will be needed, for example, to do some of the seismic intervention, so that we can then do a lot of research and development in terms of coming up with more wells and in other different areas. And so my take to young people is that they should maybe prepare themselves to be engaged in terms of research and development, and also to participate in the stakeholder analysis processes, so that after owning the process, they can move on with it, they can understand the entire context, so that in case of any challenge, they know where to fall back to. And this will definitely add a lot of value in terms of bringing value to, in terms of engaging our young people in our economic development initiatives.
All right.
Yeah.
The last word.
I think for me, there are a number of issues. One of them, which for most of us who are trying to get into business, young entrepreneurs or young at heart entrepreneurs, funding is a big one.
Yeah.
I think it's time for, financial institutions to come to the party. If I want to start a business, let's try and understand what it is. That's the first thing. The second thing, for young people, keep an open mind. You don't know where this thing will take you. The third thing, if you have already embarked on a certain way, like for example, you're welding exhaust somewhere or window somewhere, there is a program called competence-based training. So we find out what you know, where your gaps are, and how we can get you to be in the oil and gas industry,
Right.
or into the extractives. There is a space for everybody.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Andrew Kamal, PS, Petroleum Ministry of Energy, Harold Omondi, Lecturer, ICT at JKUAT, and you for joining us this evening on behalf of the team that made the show possible. Appreciated to have your company with us. Hope you've learned a thing or two, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on this local content bill to see what happens in coming days. My name is Sophia Wanuna. I wish you a good night.